Hi guys, and welcome to another training video on the stiff leg deadlift. So, benefits to your training with this movement are flexibility maintenance on the hamstrings, hypertrophy of the posterior chain, and grinding power when stuff gets difficult. And this is all going to contribute to your conventional deadlift. The correct starting position is going to be when you address the bar at the floor at full range of motion. Your shins are going to be vertical and you're going to be able to maintain a neutral lumbar spine. So, of course, the caveat to that is that you're going to need an adequate amount of hamstring flexibility just to maintain or get into that position in the first place. If that's not possible, then you'll need to go away and perform a series of other exercises that are going to help develop your functional range in your hamstrings. That could be something like a single leg RDL or some PNF stretching with a partner. However, if it is possible, then from this point on, the actual movement itself is pretty straightforward. You just need to place the bar where it would be for a conventional deadlift and just pick the thing up. So, straps. I wanted to talk about this because we're typically going to be holding a lot more time under tension on a stiff leg. So, I just wanted to go over how to set these properly. So, in the demo here, you can see me starting behind the bar. And you're going to aim the straps toward the center, so they're going to go from the outside toward in as you're wrapping them. So start from behind the bar, stick one loop over, and then you're going to kind of like take the slack out of the strap. So you'll see me pull them round and pull it tight. So I just wanted to take a bit of time to emphasize this point. So the gap between my wrist and the bar, I'm pulling that tight to close that gap. Then I do the second loop, and then I continue to kind of like rotate my hands around to try and tighten my hands closer, as you can see emphasized by the strap pushing down on the skin of my hand there. So I'm just messing about there until I've got an equal amount of grip pressure on both hands, just very, very subtly rotating the bar in each hand until it's equal. And then I take a little bit of slack out of the bar, just like I would do a normal conventional deadlift, as you can see there. Just taking the slack out, very, very, very subtle. And then the great thing about the stiff leg as well is that it showed me that I wasn't quite over the center of my foot, so I just had to roll the bar back slightly there to make sure that I had full sort of like pressure through the midfoot. Very quickly, the key difference to the conventional deadlift here is that you simply set up in the same position with the feet relative to the bar, but you just don't drop the hips down and get the shins to meet the bar, so you can use the legs to gain power to break the floor. And that's it. And the key difference to the Romanian deadlift is that it's almost exactly the same movement with the vertical shin and the dominance of displacing the hips further backwards to emphasize the posterior chain, except it's more constant tension because you don't go to the floor and you'll stop at a different series of positions on the way down before the floor to maybe address a weak spot in your lift. And it's, again, constant tension, great for hypertrophy. Very, very similar. So what muscles are working most? One of the best ways to describe this is looking at the mechanics, and with the diagram of the line at the back of my hips to the line that's like going down my arms, that represents the lever length, and essentially that's at its longest right now because my shoulders are directly in front of my hips and my body's parallel to the floor. So that means I'm going to get maximum stimulation of the muscle tissue at that point. So because of the leverages and just because of the movement, you're going to be hitting the spinal erectors, gluteus maximus, adductor magnus, and the hamstrings. So we lightly touched on it just a second ago, but I just wanted to put in a quick note on peak force production, which is done at the bottom range here. So you're going to get like loads of force production development done in the lengthened range. So in your training program, I'd probably recommend having in a few exercises that are going to help develop strength at the sort of like shortened range of motion. So you'd be looking at like your hip thrusts and your 45-degree hyperextensions or your GHRs. And lastly, what rep ranges are beneficial with this movement? Well, it's still a deadlift, and you can still load it up really heavy, and it's still your posterior chain. So anywhere between sort of like 1 and 12 reps I've found can be really beneficial here. In this particular session I had a bit of a quad tendon strain, so I needed to take a bit of pressure off my knees, so it just means that I've got the option of going up to a heavy single before I start any sort of like hypertrophy rep ranges afterwards, which means that I can still pull and touch something heavy and still get that CNS stimulation. So yeah, and then like sort of like the amount of work you need to do is obviously dependent on your progressive state. So there you have it, guys. That's the stiff leg deadlift. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and it's been as informative as I've tried to make it. Any questions, hit me up in the comments section, and have a great day.